In Phoenix, Arizona, on Friday, December the 11th to 4:43 p.m., the camera slowly pans across the city skyline and glides through a hotel window into a modest room. Marion Crane and her lover Sam Loomis are lying together after making love. Marion, wearing only a white bra, is affectionate yet frustrated. Sam says, "I'm tired of sweating for people who aren't there." "I'm tired of being a nothing," Marion replies. "Sam, let's get married." Sam answers, "We can't get married. Not with the money I've got. The first wife's alimony and the debts on the store." Marion tells him sadly, "I'm tired of the secrecy. I'm tired of the sneaking around." She leaves the hotel and returns to her real estate office. At the office, a wealthy, arrogant client named Tom Cassidy pays $40,000 in cash and flirts crudely, saying, "I never carry more than I can afford to lose," he adds. "This was going to be my daughter's wedding present. $40,000 cash." Marion's boss instructs her to deposit the money immediately. Instead, Marion impulsively steals the cash, goes home, packs a suitcase, changes from white to black undergarments, and drives away toward Sam's town of Fairvale, California. On the long desert road, Marion drives tensely. She becomes exhausted, pulls over, and falls asleep on the shoulder. A California highway patrolman wakes her and says calmly but suspiciously, "You look a little tired. Have you been sleeping?" Marion replies nervously, "I was just resting." He examines her license thoroughly before letting her go. She drives on and stops at a used car dealership to trade vehicles. While there, the same patrolman parks across the street and watches her silently. As night falls, heavy rain begins pouring down. Lost in the storm, Marion sees the neon sign for the Bates Motel and pulls in. The large, dark Victorian house stands on the hill behind the motel, with a light glowing in an upstairs window. Norman Bates, a polite but painfully shy and awkward young man, comes out. He registers her under the false name Marie Samuels and gives her cabin 1. Norman says nervously, "I'm sorry about the rain. We don't get many guests this time of year." He invites her to dinner in the small parlor behind the motel office. The room is filled with Norman's taxidermy birds, owls, crows, and hawks with wings spread, staring down. Norman brings sandwiches and milk on a tray. He says, "You eat like a bird." Marion smiles and replies, "I am not very hungry." Norman talks about his hobby. "I like to stuff things." "It's my hobby." Marion asks about the big house. Norman hesitates, then says his mother is ill. Suddenly, they hear a woman's angry voice from the house shouting, "No. I tell you no. I won't have you bringing strange young girls in here for supper. Go on, get out of here. Go on." Norman looks embarrassed and defensive. He tells Marion softly, a boy's best friend is his mother. Marion, trying to be kind, suggests, "Wouldn't it be better if you put her somewhere?" Norman's face darkens. He snaps, "You mean an asylum? A madhouse?" "People always call a madhouse an asylum." He then calms down and speaks sadly, "We're all in our private traps, Marion. We scratch and claw, but only at the air. Only at each other. And for all of us, sooner or later, the trap will close." Marion is moved and replies gently, "I'm sorry." After dinner, she returns to cabin 1 inside her cabin. She sits at the desk, calculates how much money she has spent, and decides, "I'll go back first thing in the morning and return the money." She undresses and steps into the shower, letting the water run over her. While showering, a shadowy figure of an older woman appears through the translucent curtain. The curtain is ripped open. The woman attacks Marion with a large knife in a frenzied series of stabs. Marion screams in terror as her blood mixes with the water and swirls down the drain. She collapses dead, her lifeless eye staring upward. The camera slowly spirals back from her eye into the dark drain. Norman soon arrives at the cabin in horror. He whispers frantically, "Mother. Oh God, Mother. Blood. Blood." He quickly cleans the entire bathroom, wraps Marion's body in the shower curtain, and carries it to her car. He places the body, her suitcase, and the envelope of money into the trunk. Norman drives the car to a nearby swamp and pushes it in. The car sinks slowly into the mud, pausing halfway for a long, tense moment before disappearing completely. The next morning in Fairvale, Sam Loomis is working alone in his hardware store. Marion's sister Leela Crane bursts in and says, "Sam, I'm frightened." Marion's missing. They wonder if she took the money and ran. Soon afterward, private investigator Milton Arbogast arrives. He explains, I was hired by Marion's employer to recover the stolen $40,000. Arbogast questions them and then follows Marion's trail to the Bates Motel. At the motel, Arbogast talks to Norman, who grows increasingly nervous and stutters. Norman claims, she checked in last night and left this morning. Arbogast presses him, she didn't leave, did she? You got the wrong register. She's still here. Norman becomes agitated and defensive, saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Arbogast does not believe him. He calls Sam and Leela and says, I'm going to search the house on the hill. Arbogast sneaks into the Victorian house and climbs the stairs. At the top, the figure of an old woman rushes out and stabs him repeatedly. Arbogast screams and falls backward down the stairs to his death. Norman later cleans the scene and sinks Arbogast's car into the swamp as well. When Arbogast fails to contact them, Leela and Sam grow more suspicious. They visit the local sheriff at his home. The sheriff tells them, Mrs. Bates has been dead for the last 10 years. He explains that Norman's mother had a lover, and when Norman found them together, she poisoned both herself and the man. The sheriff adds, Norman was suspected but later cleared. Determined to find answers, Leela and Sam drive to the Bates Motel, posing as a married couple. They check into a cabin. While Sam distracts Norman in the office, Leela sneaks into the old house. Inside, she finds Mrs. Bates' bedroom, which looks strangely preserved with clothes laid out and the bed indented as if recently used. Leela then descends into the basement. A single bare light bulb swings from the ceiling, casting eerie moving shadows. In the fruit cellar, she discovers the mummified, shriveled body of an old woman seated in a chair. As Leela screams, Norman dressed in women's clothing and a wig bursts in and attacks her with a knife, yelling in a high-pitched voice, Mother! Mother! Sam rushes in just in time, struggles with Norman, and subdues him. At the police station, a psychiatrist examines Norman and explains the full truth. Norman had become pathologically jealous when his mother took a lover. In a rage, he poisoned both of them. Unable to bear the guilt of matricide, he stole his mother's corpse, preserved it with his taxidermy skills, and developed a split personality. Whenever Norman felt attracted to a woman, the mother personality would emerge and commit the murders. By the end, the mother personality had completely taken over Norman's mind. In the final scene, Norman sits wrapped tightly in a blanket in a holding cell, smiling with eerie calm. In a soft, gentle voice that sounds exactly like his mother's, he thinks, it's sad when a mother has to speak the words that condemn her own son. I couldn't let them find her. I wouldn't even harm a fly. His face subtly changes as a skull image fades over it. The film ends with a shot of a tow truck pulling Marion's car out of the swamp, the money and her body finally recovered.